Hey guys, I hope y'all are having a great day today. So yet again, we're doing a foundation review. I feel like most of my videos lately have been foundation reviews because they're coming out left and right. So of course, every time one drops, I'm gonna have a review for y'all. So for today, we're checking out the new SheGlam. This is called the SheGlam Skinfluencer Full Coverage Foundation Balm. So foundation balms are usually pretty interesting on oily skin. I would say usually they don't wear all that well on oily skin, but here and there I have come across some that I actually like on my skin type. So we're going to be checking this out on my oily, acne-prone 40+ skin today. So I'm going to give you guys my first impression. We'll go over some of the information about the product, and then of course we're going to shoot for an 8-hour wear test, and then I'm going to take you guys along with me during the day and do a couple of check-ins. And then at the end of the video, I will let you know if this is something that I would recommend to you guys who also have oily skin. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so I haven't opened this yet because I was about to, and then when I saw how pretty they had it packaged, I wanted to show y'all on camera. So it comes in this box here, and then inside the box they put the foundation in this nice little bag, and then this is the packaging. So this is actually my first time trying out a SheGlam product, but I have seen other videos on products from this brand, and from what I can tell, they usually package their stuff pretty nicely. So I do like how this is really nice and compact, because if this works out and it turns out to be a foundation that I would wear again, this would be really good for traveling. And then it does come sealed because it is a balm formula. So I think the packaging is really pretty on this one. And I think I picked a pretty good shade. What shade did I get? This is the shade Chestnut. So for those of you who are new here, I do have a cool pink undertone, so I always look for that. If I can't find pink, then I always go for golden, and I try to stay away from yellow and olivey undertones. So again, this one is the shade Chestnut. I'm going to start off with a swatch, but I'm also going to swatch a couple of samples. I decided to get a couple of samples in other shades that have different undertones that are also in my complexion range, because I think that that might be helpful for those of you who might use me as a shade reference. I know a lot of you use me as a shade reference because if I'm cool, then you know to get like the warm counterpart, so to speak. So let's start off with a couple of shade swatches. Okay, so this is Chestnut. It's really nice and balmy. It feels like a typical balm. So this is Chestnut. I'm really excited about this because it looks really nice in like a prominent pink color. Very hard for me to come across that. The next one that I'm going to swatch is the shade Walnut. And even their little samples come nicely packaged as well. Okay, so this one is Walnut. I feel like this one is also like a cooler undertone, but it's just a lighter skin tone. But for some reason when I was looking online, I was thinking this one was going to be more comparable to that. But to me, this looks cool as well. Just lighter than the Chestnut shade. And then this other one is caramel, however you like to say it. This one is definitely more of like an olivey undertone. Yeah, I feel like that one is olivey. So unfortunately, I was really thinking that this one was going to be like the warm undertone of this shade, but it's just lighter. So again, this is caramel or caramel. This one is walnut, and this one is chestnut. Okay, so the way that it's swatched on my hand, it immediately reminded me of the KVD Good Apple Foundation Balm, in that it's kind of thick, and I remember I like applying that one with a sponge, so I'm going to do the same thing with this one. So I'm going to pick this up on my finger and then just apply it to my face, and then I'm going to blend it out with this sponge. I have no idea. This is a Kokie Cosmetics sponge. So I'm just going to start by blending it out on the cheek, and it's supposed to be full coverage because that's in the name of the product, and I am getting a good amount of coverage so far, and I picked a really good shade. So as you can see, that's blending right into my skin tone. Now, I don't know if I would consider this full coverage, but remember, I am blending it out with a sponge. So whenever you use a sponge, it's going to automatically soak up some of your product. I do think that I can still see some stuff peeking through on my cheeks, but I am getting pretty good coverage. So I'm just going to apply the rest of this to this side of the face. And then of course we're going to go back and build it up and see if we get any more coverage. Okay, first impression. It is claiming to be a full coverage. I feel like I'm getting like a high medium coverage, let's say. Of course, you're going to get more coverage if you were to blend it out with a brush, but I do like the way it blended out with the sponge. I think it blended out really nicely. I don't think that I'm getting, like, you know how a lot of foundations that have come out lately, I need a mirror. So you know how a lot of foundations that have come out lately, they give like a nice blurring effect to the skin, and a lot of foundations look like they might be maybe primer infused and all of that. I will say I don't think that I'm getting that from this. I mean, just because it's a foundation, it is giving me like a more smooth base, I guess, and it is like evening out the skin tone, but it doesn't look quite as smooth as like some other foundations that I have tried lately. Like, the only thing that I'm noticing so far is the color match. Like, nothing is like really wowing me with how this looks on my face so far. Like, it just kind of looks standard, you know. Like, so far I probably wouldn't pick this up over some other foundations that I had. It doesn't look bad, but it just doesn't look like nothing is just standing out about it just yet. But let me know what y'all are thinking. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna apply some of the foundation to this side of the face while we go over some of the claims. We'll see if the claims match up to what I'm thinking so far, and then we'll go back and see if we can build it up and get any more coverage. Okay, the SheGlam Skinfluencer Full Coverage Foundation Balm gives you a high coverage and instantly flawless application faster than ever with a few strokes of a makeup brush. Okay, so we'll definitely go back and build up with a brush on our second application. Their non-greasy formula is long wearing and adapting an oil and water emulsification system which adheres to the skin with a thin consistency. It has a long-lasting antioxidant formula that resists oil and sweat and stays without getting dull. The active ingredients are sodium hyaluronate and G-Moist C Gel H, which moisturizes the skin, and it's suitable for sensitive skin. It's talc-free, alcohol-free, and non-allergenic. It retails for $8.49 on their website, and it's available in 30 shades. Okay, so here is one layer of the makeup so far, and I think it looks pretty, but like I said, there's just nothing that's like wowing me about this, especially compared to some other foundations that I have tried more recently. But the one thing that I absolutely love about this so far is the shade, because like I said, sometimes it is just really hard for me to find cool undertones in my complexion range. So I picked a perfect shade, but it's a nice foundation, but that's like pretty much all it is so far. It's a nice foundation, but we are going to see if we can build it up. So it did say that you can get effortless, what did it say? Something about you can get like better coverage a lot faster if you use a brush. So we're gonna go on and see if we can build up to full coverage with a brush, because I do think that I'm getting just like a high medium coverage right now, not necessarily full coverage. This is the Morphe E63 brush. This is my favorite foundation brush ever, and I always like to see if foundations build up by blending my second layer right along the cheek area, just because I tend to have more scars there. Okay, so I do feel like this second layer is giving me full coverage. So if you were to go on with your first layer with a brush, you'll probably get better coverage than I did the first time around, because remember that the sponge, it definitely soaks up more product. I have to say, because this is a foundation balm, I'm not expecting like the best wear test ever, but if it wears okay, I can already tell you that this is a foundation that I would wear again just because of the color alone. I'm just not used to having like such really good shade matches. And so far, it's a pretty foundation. It's just like, it's not the most smoothing, not the most blurring, not the most flawless looking foundation, but it's nice so far. Okay, so this is what we're looking like. Let me know if you would consider this full coverage. I think that I have built it up to a full coverage with not having to use like a ton of product either. So far I am liking it. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my concealer on, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how I'm gonna set the foundation in place. Okay, so the makeup has been on my face for about 5 minutes while I was blending out my concealer. I set just the under eye area, so now I'm gonna go in and set the rest of my face. So I'm gonna use my same setting setting powder. This is the Kosas Cloud Set Powder in Pillowy. So I'm gonna apply it almost the same way. I'm picking up a good amount and then tapping off the excess. And what I do with any foundation is I like to just really press the powder into the skin just to make sure that the makeup is really set. We're gonna do a side-by-side comparison in a second before I set my entire face. Okay, so we all know that when you put powder on top of a foundation, the powder will just slightly mattify the foundation and give it like a more smooth effect. But I wanted to do a side-by-side really quickly just because, like I was saying earlier, I feel like this foundation is not like the most smoothing, not like the most blurring. And I feel like now that I have powder on one side, you can really see what I'm talking about, because like now to me this side just looks a little cleaner because of that powder. So I hope that y'all can see like what I'm talking about. So let me go ahead and powder the other side. And I'm gonna do one extra step for today. I'm gonna take another sponge. This is just a dry sponge, and I'm just gonna like really press this powder into my face. I just feel the need to do this because this is a foundation balm. I really need to make sure that this makeup is nice and set because I have oily skin. So I think if you're going to try this foundation out, if you have oily skin, you should just assume that you might just have to do like a little extra work to make it work, because it's a balm. You know, balms don't typically work the best on oily skin. So that's why I felt the need to do that. So let me know what your first impressions are so far. I'm going to finish up the rest of my makeup off camera. I'll come back and give you my first impressions, and then we will start with our wear test. Okay, so here we are with our finished look for today. So I usually stick with the same products when I'm testing out a foundation. I might just like change my eye and lip color, but I did change out my other cheek products. So I would normally wear my Say Beauty cream bronzer, but because we're dealing with a balm today, I decided to wear a powder bronzer instead. So I have on my Charlotte Tilbury powder bronzer. And then for my blush, now lately I've been using my this is the Rare Beauty liquid blush in the shade Believe. Lately I've been using this and then setting it with my Note Cosmetics blush in this color. So it's kind of like mixing those two colors together, and I really like that combination. Today I went in with this e.l.f. blush, this orange color here, because I felt like I needed something really warm on my cheeks to offset my eyes, because I have on like a very cool toned eye look for today. But all that being said, everything that I have on is in my description box per the usual, but I know some of you guys like the detail. Now, my first impression on this new SheGlam foundation before we get into our wear test. So y'all already know that I'm really liking the shade. I just can't get past the shade of it because it is very rare that I come across such a good shade match for me. So if we're shade twins, which I feel like I've only come across two of y'all, again, I'm in the shade Chestnut, so this is a really good match for us. I do like the way that the foundation blended out. It does claim to be a full coverage, and I'm gonna say yes, it is, even though I had to build it up to a full coverage. I think if you go on and you blend it out with a brush as opposed to a sponge like I did for the first layer, I think that you would get full coverage right away with this. So I do really like the coverage level for those of you who are looking for full coverage. So I do like the way that it looks. It's not, to me, like I said, it's not wowing me like, oh my goodness, I think that I have like a flawless look, but I think it looks like a really nice foundation so far. So those are my first impressions. So I know that we're all curious to see how this is going to wear on oily skin during the day. So we're going to shoot for an 8-hour wear test. So it's about 1:30 Friday afternoon. So I'm going to check in a few hours. We'll refresh the makeup if we need to, and then we'll take it from there. So I'll see y'all a little bit later on. Okay, y'all, I'm back for what most likely is going to be check-in number 1, because I'm going to try to do 2 check-ins today. So it is going on 5 o'clock in the evening. So right now we're at about 3.5 hours of wear, and this is what we are looking like. So let me know what you guys are thinking so far. So I think for this to be a creamy foundation balm formula, I need something on my lips. Hold on. Okay, my lips were really dry. But anyway, so for this to be like a creamy, like balmy formula, I think so far it's wearing very well on oily skin, my oily skin. So I am slightly shiny, like on my forehead and on my nose. I always get shiny in those areas first, but it's like very minimal shine. So I think that we're doing pretty good so far for this to be like a balm formula. So I'm not going to bother refreshing the makeup right now. I just don't think that I need to do that right now. So I'm going to wear it for a couple more hours, and most likely at that point I'll come back and blot off some oil and repowder if I think I need to, and then wear it for another couple of hours and then wrap everything up. But so far so good. Let me know what y'all are thinking so far in the comments, and I will see y'all a little bit later. Okay, so it's 7:30, so it's an hour and a half after the last check-in. So this is what we're looking like. I'm not able to do like a full like natural sunlight shot because the sun is already going down and it's just too dark, but this is what we're looking like. At least you can see it like in different lighting. So I definitely am more shiny than I was at the 5 o'clock check-in, but I still feel like for a balm foundation it's doing okay. But we are going to go ahead and blot and refresh. So I'm just going to take my tissue and blot in my T-zone area. I'm sorry if the camera is moving around too much. I'm holding it with my hand. And now I'm going to take some more powder, and I'm just going to repowder just in the T-zone area. Okay, so I do feel like my face is pretty much back to normal now. So I'm gonna try to wear this at 7:30. So I'm probably gonna keep it on till probably like 9 or 10 o'clock, and then we will come back and wrap things up. Okay guys, I'm back for my final thoughts. So it's 9:40 in the evening. So we're about 2 hours after we did the last check-in where we refreshed the makeup, and we did a total of an 8-hour wear test for today. So this is what we are looking like. So let me know what y'all are thinking. I think my makeup looks like I just refreshed it. It's been about 2 hours since I repowdered, but to me it looks like I, just put it on. So I think it looks pretty nice. So I think my final thoughts on this new SheGlam foundation are pretty much the same as my first impressions. Overall, would I recommend this to people with oily skin? I would, based on the wear test that I had today. It definitely wasn't like the best wearing foundation that I've had in recent months, but I do think it was good enough to where I would recommend it to someone who has a similar skin type. Now, if you tried the KVD Good Apple Foundation Balm and you didn't like that, because a lot of people hated that foundation. If you didn't like that, I do think that it was very similar to this. I loved the KVD Good Apple Foundation, and I do like that one better than this one in terms of how long it lasted on my face. But if you did like the KVD one and you have oily skin, like I said, I think these are pretty similar, so I think that you would like this too. So based on my experience today, I would recommend the SheGlam foundation to those of you who have oily skin. For those of you who have dry skin, let us know how this worked out for you in the comments. And thank you guys so much for watching today. I really hope that you found the video helpful. If you did, please let me know by giving me a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel before you head out, and I will see y'all back here for my next one. Until then, take care. Have a good one, y'all. Bye.